When you're really busy, one of the hardest things to do is cook for yourself. But it doesn't have to be that way. Cooking should be really enjoyable, where you come home from a long day at work and use it to relax and maybe listen to some music, or even share the moment with your family. So in this series of videos, we'll be teaching you different recipes that you can use to prep ahead of one night and take out of the refrigerator or freezer one night when you're really busy. So let's get started.
The recipe we're making today is the Leisure Gamer pasta sauce. This sauce is so great because not only is it more flavorful than anything you can buy in the store, but it can be used for a variety of different dishes. You can serve it over any kind of pasta, make some kind of lasagna, or maybe even create some mini pizzas with some sliced Italian bread and cheese. The best part is that it can be cooked ahead of time, so you can take it out of the freezer on those busy nights. For equipment loadout, we'll need 3 simple things: a cutting board, a good knife, and a large pot. These are pretty staple pieces of equipment, and we'll be using a lot of them in future Leisure Gamer recipes. I would highly suggest investing in them if you haven't already. You can find the recipe listed in the description below. If you want, copy and paste the recipe into a text document and then print it out if that's easier for you to cook and read with. Or just play and pause the video while you're cooking, that will work too. For the ingredients, we'll start with the aromatics. These are the vegetables that are going to add a lot of flavor and nutrition into the sauce. The 3 main aromatics are onions, carrots, and celery. This combination actually has a very special name in cooking called a mirepoix, and the exact measurements of a mirepoix are 2 parts onions to 1 part carrot and 1 part celery. If you look closely, you'll notice a lot of sauces, soups, and other dishes have these main aromatics in them, and this won't be the last time that you'll see them in a Leisure Gamer recipe either. Let's start with the onion. In total, you'll need 1 medium-sized onion, either yellow or white. Cut off both ends and remove the outside layer of the skin. You'll need to dice the onion, and the easiest way to do this is to cut the onion in half, and then taking 1 half at a time, cut horizontally toward the root end without cutting all the way through. And then you want to rotate the onion and cut vertically, following the contours of the onion. Finally, turn the onion and cut straight down, resulting in an even dice. When the cutting gets tricky at the end, just place the remaining onion face down on the board and dice it in the easiest way possible for you. For carrots, you're going to need about 2 to 3 medium-sized ones. Start by peeling them, and we're going to want to cut an equal-sized dice, so if one end's really thick, go ahead and cut it in half so the dice will be more uniform. This also creates a flat cutting surface, so then the carrot won't roll on you when you're trying to cut them, which is safer anyway. Cut all the carrots crosswise to create a small dice. Cut off the ends of 2 stalks of celery and dice them crosswise like the carrots. Oh, and don't forget to wash your produce if need be, and sorry if that's a no-brainer. You're going to need 1 green pepper. Cut it in half and remove the seeds and ribs. I like to have a garbage bowl next to me when I'm cooking so I can keep my cutting area clean. But go ahead and quarter the green pepper. Then take each quarter and slice them thinly. Rotate the slices and then cut them crosswise to form a dice. Repeat the steps until all the pepper is cut. You can't have an Italian sauce without garlic, so we're going to need lots of it. In total, we're going to use 8 cloves, unless you want to save some time and then you can use garlic powder. If so, read the conversion on the back of the package, but it should be about 1/4 teaspoon of powder per real garlic clove. So in this case, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder should do it. If you're using real garlic, remove the cloves from the husk, and then use the flat side of your knife to press down on the clove. This should crack the skin enough to allow you to slip out the clove easily. Then cut up the cloves until you have an even-sized mince. For the other ingredients, we're going to need about 1 pound of ground Italian sausage. Depending on your grocery store, you could find this at the meat counter or in the freezer aisle. If you use frozen, make sure you thaw it completely before cooking. For the spices, you're going to need 2 tablespoons sugar, 2 tablespoons dried oregano, 2 tablespoons dried basil, 1 tablespoon salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Lastly, 3 15-ounce cans of tomato sauce and 1 large can of tomato puree, which should be about 1 pound and 13 ounces a can. Start by heating a large pot over medium heat. Once it's hot, go ahead and add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil. This will prevent the meat from sticking to the pot. Well, at least minimize the amount of sticking, that is. Add the ground sausage, and you don't want to set the heat too high at first or you'll scorch the meat. Instead, gradually raise the temperature if you need to once the meat is already cooking. Continue to cook until the meat is nicely browned. You might have to use a spatula or maybe a potato masher to chop up the meat while it's cooking. Once browned, remove it from the pot and reduce the heat back down to medium if you had it cranked up any higher. So now you're left with a pot that has lots of browning on the bottom. So you can use either white wine or water to deglaze the pan and release all the savory flavor. Simply pour a little bit of liquid into the pan while it's hot and stir quickly. This loosens the browning so it releases from the metal. Now add in all your vegetables and stir. As with the meat, you might have to gradually raise the temperature once all the vegetables are in the pot. Cook until the onions have begun to sweat and the carrots and celery are starting to soften. Simmering the sauce later on will help soften the vegetables more, but you don't want to have crunchy carrots, they need to be cooked. Start boiling some water for pasta, and add in the salt, which both lowers the boiling point of the water, which is going to save you some time, but it also adds some flavor to the pasta. Once the vegetables are done cooking, you can start to add the meat back into the pot and begin to pour in the tomato sauce and the puree as well. Rinse out the cans with some water if need be, and the extra moisture isn't going to ruin the sauce. You can always reduce the sauce through evaporation if it's too watery, just don't overdo it with the can rinsing. Now stir to bring the sauce together, then add in the spices. Stir again and let the sauce get hot. Now go back to the boiling water and add in the pasta. As it cooks, stir or reduce the temperature to keep the water level under control. Strain and rinse the pasta in cold water once it's done. When your sauce begins to boil, reduce the heat to low and let it simmer. At this point it's ready to eat if your pasta's done, or you can let it simmer for a while. Real Italian grandmothers let their sauces simmer all day long, I'm not kidding. Depending on how many people you fed, you'll have plenty of leftovers, so go ahead and freeze it, or maybe refrigerate it if you want to try another variation the next night. If you have any questions, please post in the comments below, but we hope you enjoy the sauce and we'll be looking forward to hearing how it turns out for you. Alright, Leisure Gamers, see you next time.